Welcome back, Commander. Though it may not know it yet, the galaxy is under threat. And to combat this threat, two idiots must visit the world's most pretentious brothel. The game is Mass Effect, and this is the N7 Project.
Status report.
Zach, how are you doing today?
Doing well. As you may or may not know, we just had Christmas recently, which for me was kind of just hunkering down and not having to be at work for a while. It was nice.
Yeah.
What have you been up to?
Oh, not much. We just had Christmas, and we were doing a very low key Christmas because of the ongoing troubles of 2001. So mostly just hanging in. And then, except last night when I was supposed to be playing Mass Effect to prepare for today's broadcast, I got a call from my wife who's like, hey, can we host karaoke at the house in our backyard, like in a couple of hours? Oof. And I couldn't think of a reason to say no. So I had to drop what I was doing and set up the karaoke machine, which if the whole reason, I think that's the whole reason I'm an audio guy is that I can just drop things like that and set up karaoke. But man, like, if you don't do it often enough, there are some real pitfalls to doing karaoke. Like, dude, I know that's not really your bag, Zach, but
no, I avoid being the center of attention whenever possible.
If you ever do it, here's the advice. A, look at the length of the song before you select it, because nobody wants to listen to a 7-minute long song.
No.
Except for Bohemian Rhapsody, because that's not a single person karaoke. That's everybody gets in on Bohemian Rhapsody. But
sure,
yeah. And the other thing is, I'm fortunate that the karaoke app we use has both Scott Bradley's Postmodern Jukebox and Puddle's Pity Party, because otherwise I wouldn't know anything. Like, I don't know any popular songs. I only know weird covers of popular songs.
No, I'm right there with you.
I selected one, which unfortunately got to about 30 seconds from the end and just became scatting. And as much as the point of karaoke is to forego all of your shame and just go straight into it, I cannot scat in front of a bunch of people. And I was like, oh no, I need to pull the ripcord on this one right now.
Abort mission.
Yeah. Which, as far as I'm concerned, pulling the ripcord on a karaoke song, there's no shame in that. You're just saving the crowd from the awkward silence as you stand there.
Yeah.
Well, I hear you're getting a new laptop for Christmas.
I am. I'm very excited about it. I actually haven't owned a personal laptop since I was at the Guildhall back in 2005.
Yeah.
And, that laptop has not held up.
Yeah, I imagine.
But yeah, I'm mostly looking at it to do just have sort of a portable solution for working on programming and shader development and just art stuff, just kind of so I'm not confined to my lair all the time when I want to work on a project.
Yeah, it does kind of make a pretty big difference when you can like get out into the household and like be on the couch or something like that while working on that kind of thing.
Definitely helps improve relations with my wife when I'm not just gone all the time. Or
the thing that it's just me and my wife in our household, and we have a small enough house that you can kind of just yell anywhere in the house and the other person will hear you. But like when I'm deep into, computer mode and I've got like my headphones on and I'm like deep into a problem and like you're just shut off from the world. Yeah, it definitely kind of isolates you a little bit and does lead to some problems. Okay, well, on to the mission debrief.
Mission debrief.
For the start, the most important question. Now that it's available, are you skipping the elevators?
I actually didn't realize it was an option. So no.
Yeah. Okay.
Not skipping the elevators so far. I've been detouring around them in many cases, using the fast travel in a lot of cases. But I was also introducing my wife to the concept of the little audio blurbs and whatnot you get when you use the elevators.
Yeah, it's interesting. I find myself, one of the rules I have is we're going to get to the side quest this is for, but there's a side quest where until I finish that side quest, I do not use the fast travel because I need to be walking around to find the things for that quest.
Yeah.
So therefore I end up on the elevators a lot. And I remember it really took me back because on the Citadel, if you use the elevators, if you don't ever use the fast travel, you really can walk from every area to every other area. There's no there's not really loading screens. There's just these elevators, which it's basically pausing the game so that it can load in all the next assets for you.
Yeah.
But it does actually make the Citadel like more immersive. It makes it feel like one big area in a way that I think the later games kind of suffer from for the lack of
definitely.
it. I don't know if it's enough of a reason to include something like that, but I kind of really like it. That being said, man, the layout of the Citadel is not great.
Yeah.
It is confusing.
I forgot how labyrinthine it was.
Yeah. At least they have signs.
Trying to chase down some of those side quests and just the...
Okay. Well, speaking of side quests, that's what we're covering today. Once we left off where Shepard had just gone through the beacon and had maybe had a little, I think we talked about the conversation they had with Chakwas relating their the visions, but we're gonna, like any good RPG player, the moment that we get out into the town, we're gonna do everything except for the main quest first. So we're gonna cover the first few Citadel side quests today, and let's dig into it. The first one is Zoltan's little problem. So next door to the human embassy is the Elcor Volus embassy office. I'm assuming that Citadel rents are stupidly high because most of the space has been converted for VRBOs. Speaking of, I love the Elcor. The Elcor, we've talked about them on Monster Mechanics a little. They are a species who have incredibly flat voices, so they declare what their intentions are at the beginning of every sentence, and they all sound like a bunch of Eeyores. They're fantastic. I love them. Anyway.
Yeah. So I'm actually delighted that my wife is so invested in like learning all the lore of Mass Effect. So we're getting the option to like explore all these side characters, and she instantly fell in love with the Elcor.
Yeah.
Just the human delighted.
They're full on charisma. Yeah. So one of the Elcors in this office is a diplomat named Zeltan, who's got a secret that's being spread around, and he's sure the consort Shayera has been spilling the tea. So Shep heads over to see this consort Shayera, whose offices seem very popular, and I have to remember this game is from 2007 when I see that she doesn't employ any male companions in any type.
Mm-hmm.
But when you go to see her, originally get turned away at the door, then she says, "Oh, wait, Shepard, you can help. I got a side quest for you. Side quest to your side quest." She's got a different problem. A Turian general is pissed off that she won't go steady with him, so he's getting very drunk and bad-mouthing her. And the consort would love if Shep could be a dear and maybe go shut him up. So you head down to a place called Cora's Den, down in the wards, and find this dude. You'll need some powers of convincing to get him to shape up and ship out, but if he can manage it, he'll decide to stop being a sad sack and go back to war, I guess. He's a general, so probably war. Turns out he's the one who's been spreading Zeltan's secret and blaming it on the consort. He fesses up to that, and Zeltan is aghast that anyone could learn his secret, but grateful to have the problem solved. You head back over to the consort, and she is very grateful if you take that option. Man, this game really wears its libido on its sleeve. So that's our first side quest, Zeltan's little problem.
Yeah. So as I mentioned before, my wife is sort of picking all the dialogue options and whatnot just to give us a fresh take on it. And we accidentally spent some time with the consort.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like what? Oh.
I think it's very clear if you know what you're looking for that like the consort is like ready to bone down. Cause like the moment that Shep shows up, the consort's like touching their face and stuff. But it's like, if you do not know what, like, you know, we've mentioned before, they sort of paraphrase what you're about to say. It doesn't say explicitly what the result of your dialogue choices will be. And yeah, if you choose the wrong one, if you choose the one that you weren't expecting, you'll suddenly find yourself in a very Titanic-esque sex scene. Not super explicit, but very clear that this game is horny.
Yeah. So I got a question.
Yeah.
I don't think it's ever further discussed, but what do you think Zeltan's secret is?
I am dying to know. He never says what, or I don't think he said. I was paying attention, like trying to, what the fuck is Zeltan's secret? I mean, like on the stereotypical thing would be that it was some sort of sex thing, right? Like, but like, I don't know. I think it's funnier if it's like something else, but like, I don't know. I can't imagine what it would be. Speaking of the Elcor, I love that in the elevator they mentioned that there's a guy starting up a theater company to do a production of Hamlet with an all Elcor cast.
Yes.
Which I would love to see. I hope that somebody has like I know a bunch of audio drama people. Maybe I could make some of that happen. Shit. Okay. Well, let's table that idea for the moment. I don't need another project.
You just gotta get him to do that subtle body language and pheromones that all the Elcor do.
I think it'd be mostly a matter of like, I think you'd have to write the little preface parts and then record it all in the flat affect. That'd be really funny.
Do you think audiobooks are big with Elcor? Like,
Ooh, I mean, maybe.
'cause I feel
Or
like
maybe
you
they
lose
have
like
like,
half the language there. Like,
yeah,
I would imagine
maybe.
they would just sort of feel like this is a lesser form of like medium for telling stories.
Yeah, maybe. The what do you think of the consort, Shire? Has that concept aged well?
I get the feeling that they're going for kind of like a companion vibe from
Mhm.
Firefly,
Yeah, the really
but
high class.
no, I feel like a lot of the things with the consort just didn't really age well. Like,
Yeah. I think especially the choice to only have, and it is a choice because they do have the models. They only had female companions in the thing. So it's
Mhm.
like this is a very like, you know, I hate to use the word male gaze, but it is very much like this is designed to hit a demographic. And that's a shame. It would have, because I would love nothing more than you walk in there and there are some like Volus companions or maybe an Elcor or
yeah.
two for like really good listeners or something. Because the in the universe, it's sort of described that like the consort doesn't do just sex. Sex is one of the
Mhm.
things they do, but like it's also like therapy and like, you know, just being a companion and like, you know, I don't know, had good conversation and stuff. And it would have been interesting to see that represented a little bit more.
Yeah, I don't think that BioWare started really embracing a more progressive
Yeah.
take on this until Mass Effect 2 and definitely Mass Effect 3.
Yeah. And Dragon Age Inquisition,
Mhm.
I think, is when I started doing that more too. I mean, obviously we're judging a 2007 work by 2022 standards now at this point.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of like, oh man, I wish they could have done this. I'm not saying I
Mhm.
could blame them, but it doesn't mean that like it makes it better in retrospect just because it's a little
Yeah.
bit tired. But yeah, somebody definitely watched Firefly before they created that concept. They were definitely like, oh, we're gonna steal that a little bit. I do think it's funny that if you select the wrong, if you just like aren't paying, you don't know what to anticipate, you can totally end up in bed with her. Really funny.
Yeah, like no, my wife was like giving side eye at the prophetic warning or whatever that
Yeah.
Shire goes on, and she's like, "That's it," and then oh,
Yeah. Okay. Well, moving on then to the other items. So, if you make your way up to the Citadel Tower, you can find a Solarian who's messing with the Keepers. Have we talked about the Keepers yet? They're these weird bug things that keep the Citadel running, and nobody knows anything about them except this guy. He's got a scanner that can actually get readings off of them, and he wants you to scan all 20 of them around the Citadel. This will be the one quest you definitely remember from Mass Effect 1 is scanning these stupid creepers.
yes, and it's
Yeah, there's also a little side quest thing where you find the Solarian's partner, who's a Volus down in CSEC, and he's like, thinks that the other guy's trying to kill him, and the guy kind of is trying to kill him, but only because the Volus is trying to steal the data. And really, it's like the most easily like resolved like conflict of all time. You basically just tell both of them to knock it off and like fucking work together, and then
that little aside just seems so weird and tacked on. Like they were intending to go further with it in some direction, and just nothing ended up happening.
I really think that I'm not sure that they meant to go further with it, but I think it's more like somebody felt like the quest wasn't involved enough. Like realistically, we're all gamers. We are very much not attuned, but we're very much accustomed to being told, "Hey, find 20 of these things. Just do it. We don't need a reason. You know, here, I'll just pay you. It's fine." But I think that somebody was like, well, we need some plot to go along with this, right? I guess. I don't know. I feel like it's not so much that like they planned to do more, but really they looked at what they had and said, oh, this isn't enough. And then they contrived this little thing that didn't require any assets or or like design. Like they just were able to throw some guys in and that, you know, it felt tacked on for sure, but not like they were not cut short. Like they were vamping. They were making things up kind of on the wing. But
yeah, I have a question. Do you know if there's like we never end up taking these options, but is it possible to actually like assassinate one or the other of the two partners? I'm wondering if that might have like consequences there. Like
I'm pretty sure you can get one or the other of them dead, or like I think I think it might cut the seeking quest short. Like you can't ever really complete it. I know that there is a Shadowbroker Files spoiler thing later on about it, which we could cover.
Yeah.
But it's one of those minor little callbacks. It's not like there is a different way to resolve it, but I don't think I've never done it. I mean, like I always just like because it's so facilely easy to convince them to not kill each other.
Yeah.
That, like you'd have to try to go out of your way, I guess, to do it. It's really weird. There must be another way to do it. I've never done it. Yeah.
I do feel like there's still a little mired in there's the right way and then there's this incredibly dumb way that you could go differently with it.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
I don't think they really ever found like a good solution for that until
No, they never
maybe
did. Yeah.
the later games. I'm trying to remember.
No, they never. There is a right way to do everything in the game. That being said, there is the Paragon way and the Renegade way. They will be the same way. It's just one of them is you being an asshole about it, and one of them is you being nice about it. Like it's Boy Scout versus asshole. It's not like good versus evil or anything like that, really. So like you could screw this up. It's really hard to screw it up. But yeah, finding the keepers. This is the quest that I mentioned earlier that I do not allow myself to use the fast travel until I found all 20 keepers, which is a little bit of a pain. It's not too bad. The one I will tell you this though, if you do not like wandering around looking for these things, go find yourself a guide and don't do anything else. Just go through them one by one and check them off on the guide that you're doing so that you can keep track of them, because there's no way to know which ones you've already done or not until you go up to them, and walking around the Citadel kind of a pain in the butt. There is a reason to do, spoiler alert, there is a reason to do it later games. It's not super important if you want to skip it, but it is there. So,
Yeah. The thing is, this quest doesn't have to be resolved immediately. This is something that will be available for pretty much the duration of the game, I think.
Yeah, right up to the very end.
So if you're just playing organically and you don't really feel like hunting these things down, you just kind of want to find them on your own, like that's an option.
What I would describe the Keeper's quest is, it's a really good podcast quest. The way I do it is, it's the same way we're going to get to these in the, there's a few more of them out on the world stage where it's like find all 20 of these things,
Yeah.
where you're like scanning a planet surface and stuff like that. And what I would say is doing it organically can be fine. You can do it, but you are actually, to me, you're a little bit better off just sitting down one day to do it. Maybe not immediately the moment that it's available, but like don't scan any of them until you have some time, and then just turn off the sound of the game, put on a podcast and then wander around doing just this one quest. And that way you don't spend a lot of time double backing and finding, like seeing one out of the corner of your eye and saying, oh, did I scan that keeper or not? Let me go check real quick. Because you will end up where, I swear to God, if you try to do it organically, you will find that you are 19 of 20 done and you don't know where the last one is.
Yeah, and I actually can picture in my mind like probably the one or two that you have missed, because there's a couple that are just tucked off in some really weird out of the way places that unless you know they're there, you're never going to actually head over there.
And the real trick is you have to like look at the mini map and look for, I haven't, and like you have to do weird stuff like say, I've never walked from the wards directly to the Presidium, not going through CSEC. How does that work? And then you'll find another thing there. It's a fine quest. It gives you some money. It has some consequences later on, but it's mostly just a little bit of tedium. And because you don't do it over the course of multiple planets, like some of the additional collection quests later, you're kind of doing them all in the same location. It can get I feel it's a little bit tedious. It's the kind of thing where if it was a modern designed side quest, they'd be marked on your mini map, or after you scan them, they would disappear or something like that. Like the models would leave the map so that whenever you saw one, you'd know to go get it. Something about that to like help you keep track of the progress, or even just a little arrow pointing you at them. And like, it's just a little bit old these days.
Yeah, there's a lot of slightly outdated game mechanics or less streamlined.
Yeah. And the keepers are, there's stuff we'll have to talk about them in Shadow Broker Files, but they're like, they're not superly heavily impacted by the plot, they're not like, they're just kind of a weird little thing. They're one of the few truly non-humanoid aliens that we see as well.
That is true.
Which is cool. Like I like their little insectile guys. It's kind of a shame that they seem to be entirely non-sentient. Like they don't interact with anybody. So they're kind of cool. In a way, it's like either I would wish this was easier to do, or it was more involved and there was more secrets to uncover or something like that. But all right,
yeah. So, piggybacking off of that, one of the interesting things about the Citadel is this is sort of your first look at all the alien races. Well, not all of them, but most of the alien races that you're going to encounter throughout the game. And you actually get kind of like a wide variety of stuff. You get a lot of the Star Trek style aliens with the face prosthesis. But you get some interesting ones like the Hanar.
Tentacle guys, love them.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't include did you resolve the Hanar preacher quest yet?
I did.
Okay, we'll talk about that one there in a second, because I didn't do it, but we can talk about why.
So I think probably one of I'm just sort of thinking back to like the first time I played, and just sort of that weird immersion with like having like all these interesting races and concepts being presented to you. Like, if you're paying attention to things like the Avena panel and you know looking at the sculptures and whatnot throughout there, you actually get a ton of like lore drops.
The writers were very busy, and like you can also like sit down and just go into the codex and start reading the codex entries.
Yeah, I haven't done that, but at least not this go around.
Yeah, not this go around. I haven't done it, but I will probably have to. We might do a codex deep dive as an episode at one point.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Or just like find interesting stuff to talk about in it. But yeah, the definitely were like the game developers sat down and built a world. Like that was the first thing they did, and invariably what happens when you sit down and do world building is you end up with a bunch of stuff that you never use, you know, that like doesn't make its way into the game itself proper. So, but instead they can use that as background filler, you know, where they can talk about like, well, you know, here's an element that we didn't get to, you know, bring into the game itself. So we're going to talk about, you know, like they don't really get into some of the stuff like the Krogan genophage and not in Mass Effect 1 or anything like that, but they had established it early enough that they can then draw back on it later. And other than that, it just sort of peppers the world around you, which is nice.
So in like they introduced the Krogan, the Rachni Wars, and they also sort of like introduced why like so many of the council races have such a chip on their shoulder about humanity. Like, like when you're talking with the Volus ambassador, Din Korlak, like he is hostile.
He is salty. I love Din Korlak.
And like if you like kind of peruse around and like learn as much as you can about the other races through the Avena consoles, like you find that like the Volus are like one of the first species on the Citadel, and they still don't have a seat on the council. They've been here for like 2,000 plus years, and humanity's been here for a little over 100, I think.
Yeah, a little bit less than 100. Yeah, less than 100.
Less than 100.
Yeah.
And like they're already like being considered for, you know, not necessarily council seats, but like the specters, and everyone's expecting humanity to just keep taking and taking. Yeah, it's interesting because that's the way to put it. It becomes very clear that the way you get on the council or get more stuff in the galaxy is to be useful to the council races, like to do stuff, and especially with like military matters. Like it's pretty obvious to me that the Volus haven't gotten put on the council because they're traders and merchants, and like that's kind of their thing. And because of that, they've never been able to sort of strong arm their way into doing it. They've never like been in the point where like the whole council came to them and said, we need you guys to save us from this existential threat. And so like, I guess I don't know if this is a spoiler or not, but if it's obvious this early in the game. But like the Solarians were brought in, as far as I can tell, to help with the Krogan problem. Then the Turians were brought in as well to help with with various other wars that came in. You get your way in, and then it seems like the humanity is brought in to help with the Saren / Mass Effect 1 problem. Like, they actually they kind of bring that up like with some of the dialogue options. You're like, well, what's next? Like, you swallowed the spider to catch the fly.
Pretty much. Okay, well, we got a couple of more side quests, and we can move into Shadowbroker Files and talk about some of those things, because this is verging on spoilery territory here, I think. So, a real quick one: we get to meet Emily Wong, who is the good reporter. We'll meet the bad reporter later. Actually, there's one of the two bad reporters later. Emily Wong is a reporter who I think wants to buy some data disks off of you that happen to be in Fist's safe. We'll deal with who Fist is later. In my game playthrough, as far as I can remember, I've always had the discs in my inventory when I first talked to her, but I think you can talk to her ahead of time, and you have to like go looking for them. But it's a real simple one. You just give her the thing. She gives you a little bit of cash because she's an NPC, and they always give you cash for helping them out. And then your reward is that in an elevator, it's like, oh, by the way, here is a special from Emily Wong about corruption on the Citadel. Really small thing. I don't think we even figure out what it is exactly that was on those discs. It's just a little hand in the thing quest.
I joke with my wife that, every time you get on the Citadel, it's sort of just like an expose on what Shepard's doing lately.
Pretty much, yeah. Although I do like in the elevators, you will get like stuff that's either going to be happening later out in the galaxy. Like you'll be riding in an elevator and they'll be like, hey, we lost contact with these dudes out in such and such cluster. Maybe somebody should go check on them. And then you go entry in your journal that's like, hey, Shepard, maybe you should go check on these guys in that cluster.
Eventually that sort of becomes the norm for...
Yeah. We'll get to that one in 3. Yeah. All right. And then the last like kind of multi-part quest we have in there is if you go into Flux, which is the higher class club of the two, of the of the places on the Citadel, which is like a casino / bar. You can overhear a waitress talking to the owner, Dorlan, about her sister. As an aside, let me say that Dorlan says he is the owner, cook, bartender, and quote unquote, I even dance when the mood takes me. And I would give any amount of money to see Dorlan dancing on the tables in Flux. Because he's a little Vorlin, or he's a little Volus. It would be so cute. Anyway, the waitress's sister has moved to Cora's den so she could be snitch for the cops, which is apparently dangerous. If you head down and try to inform this sister about the galaxy's snitching policy, where you stitches, she scoffs, and then her handler low-key informs you that you should go talk to him. You can do his dirty work instead, which is to acquire some illegal weapons mods from some bad dudes. You can either just show up and actually just do the job, or you can yell at them because you're a goody two-shoes Boy Scout. I think you can even just take the weapon mods and like bugger off on your own and never complete the quest. But if you hand them back into, I don't even remember his name. He's the C-Sect officer who like is handling this whole thing. Then Chelik, yeah. Then you release the waitress sister from her obligations, and she goes back to being safe. I guess, I don't know. It's not like it's just one of those little like, let's just resolve a little thing. The best part about it is Dorlan.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I actually did this quest slightly after the main quest portion. And I just want to say it's surprising how quickly they were able to clean up that place.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we'll get to that in next episode when we talk about the main quest. But yeah, I have to imagine that with the way Cora's den is, they're probably cleaning blood up off the floor pretty frequently. They probably got it.
Yeah.
They probably got a hose and some drains on the floor in there. Okay. Well, we're going to skip. We have some more. This isn't even all of the side quests. We're just doing the ones that Zach already did and that I also have already done. We're going to talk about the Hanar.
Yes,
because I didn't complete this quest because I want to do it in a very particular way, and I didn't level up to the point where I can do it that way yet. If you're walking around the Presidium, you will find a tentacled squid guy, a Hanar, who is preaching about the Enkindlers, which is what they call the Protheans. And there's a cop standing right next to him who's like, will you please just get the fuck out of here, man? This is against the law to preach here at this particular time without a permit, apparently. Permits are a whole thing for preaching, apparently, on the Citadel. Mm-hmm. And you can resolve it because it is Shepard's job to resolve every little conflict in the world. You can go in and just like inject yourself into the situation. And there are a couple of different solutions depending on if you're a Paragon or a Renegade with a sufficiently high Intimidate or Charm. How did you handle it this time, Zach?
So we went the charm option. We went the Paragon route where we basically told the Paragon, this isn't the way, this isn't what the Prothean or the Enkindlers would want.
Yeah.
And it just seemed a little manipulative, but I mean that's kind of the whole thing with the charm options, I guess.
Yeah, they can be. You like appeal to people's better nature, but you still get them to do what you want. Yeah, you can also just purchase the permit that he needs to be able to preach. And that apparently resolves it. The way I want to do it is the Renegade option where you like basically tell him to fuck off. But I apparently haven't been enough of an asshole yet because I didn't have enough Paragon points to unlock that version yet. So I'm going to have to go back and complete this quest later, which is the one unfortunate thing about the, I kind of do like the Paragon Renegade system in the fact that like you do need to consistently do things to open up dialogue choices. But it is such a kick in the teeth when you like are doing something and you can see them there, the red and the blue, but they're grayed out because you're either not good enough or not bad enough, or you don't have a high enough charm or intimidate to like get them to do what you want them to do yet. And it's like,
so I got a question because this is kind of, this is a gameplay thing that a lot of games handle differently. Like, what's your preferred method for like those branching dialogue choices that dependent on your gameplay choices? Like whether you've done something in the past, whether your stats are high enough, or you've got a particular perk.
I know precisely what you're talking about. My thing is, I would tell a game designer, don't even if it's not an option for me to pick right now, don't show it to me. So like if it's never showed me a grayed out option. I also I really don't like one of the Fallout games did this where you like, it'll say, hey, you want to use your speech skill on this? And then it'll be like a chance about whether or not it succeeds. No. It's either the option is available to me and I will get the correct result for it, or I won't. Like, do not give me some bullshit about it being chance.
No,
yeah,
because that's an auto reload for me.
Yeah. That's just inviting save scumming right there. So just like let either it's high enough or not. And give me a list of different options. Only the ones that are available to me. Never show me the things that I can't see, because that to me that invites it. Once you learn that exists, like the early Fallout games did this great, where once your stat is at a certain level, it'll give you options you didn't even know were there before, like on a previous playthrough. And then you're like, oh, what other things haven't I discovered yet? And that leads a sense of the game being bigger than it is, which I really like. And I have to say, I personally would say that unlock things with like if you're like the Paragon versus Renegade thing, I don't like those being locked behind point values. Like you should always have the option to be either an asshole or a Boy Scout, basically. Like you should always have the chance to change how your character acts. Like if you're quote unquote role playing your way as Shepard, maybe they start off as an asshole and then halfway through the game, they're like, you know what? No, I need to be a better person. And they start trying to be better. Well, to have locked them out of all of these dialogue choices because they didn't have enough Paragon, because they weren't nice earlier. I think that sucks. So, but that being said, the Mass Effect 2 gameplay mode where like there are little interrupts, that you're like, you can like hit a button to like change a cutscene. Fucking love that. That is an excellent implementation of that.
Oh, yeah.
But so how do you feel?
I'm a big fan of like the skills, abilities, and everything affecting gameplay. But like you mentioned, like I feel like it has to be a binary choice of this works or it doesn't. And if it doesn't, you don't even show it.
Yeah.
And I think Pillars of Eternity does a really good job of this, where like everything can sort of affect dialogue choices, and it'll only show up in your dialogue tree if it's an option, and it'll always show the reason why you're getting this dialogue choice, which I think is a really cool thing. Because so you know that your choices are both impacting the gameplay, and it's giving you a guaranteed like different option, rather than just like, well, hope it works.
And this is one of those points where the vagueness of the dialogue options in Mass Effect is maybe hindering it a little bit. I know why they did it, and it's because they make stuff shorter so that you can read it quickly while people are talking, and you can select it before Shepard actually has to speak, so you can keep the flow going, which makes it feel very cinematic. But man, sometimes you like select a thing and you're like, I expect Shepard to say this, and then it turns out to be something kind of else, and it leads down a path. Hence why both of us ended up sleeping with the consort this time. I did it on purpose, but you can just stumble your way into that because you don't know what's going on. So a little bit more explicitity. Is that even a word? I don't know. Making it very explicit about what you're doing. Definitely makes some help. So it looks like sounds like we have a little bit more to talk about in the Shadow Broker files.
Shadow Broker files.
So Shadow Broker files.
For those of you who are so the Shadow Broker files are basically us taking a look at the content of the game, and it is spoiler heavy. We are going to be talking about all three games and how the information we've discovered now sort of relates to that. Basically, if you're playing through for the first time and you don't want any spoilers, this is your cue to abandon ship.
And we'll catch you guys next week. But from here on out, spoiler free, spoiler heavy. We're all the gloves are off at this point. Mostly to talk about the Keepers, because we have done the scan the Keeper we have done the scan the Keepers quest now, and the reveal is that the Keepers are working for the Reapers at this point. They're just sitting there waiting for a command to unlock the Citadel to let the Reapers fly in and take over the place. I don't remember if there's a thing where you can, if you have this quest completed. I feel like there might be a thing where you can like activate something with them with Corbin at the end, like during the last chapter of this game. I think there might be a thing where you can like cause them to like, you can help get control back of the Citadel with the Keepers. I think there's some little like mini side quest or something. For some reason I was thinking it was related to that sort of Conrad Werner his thesis paper or whatever, where you just that's just a war asset that you get later on, which we haven't talked about Conrad Werner yet. We'll have a whole discussion about him when we actually bring him up, because it's stupidly hard to finish war asset that gives you like 10. Anyway, we'll talk about that later. Not that it's not the spoiler. It is spoilers, but like we just haven't even introduced him yet. Let's not bring him up. Let me look that up real quick, because I think there's a quest for the there are 21 scannable keepers in the Legendary Edition, even though you only have to do. God damn it! There's another keeper that I didn't scan. Son of a bitch. I know that I don't need to, but I like will have to find that fucker now. Okay. Son of a bitch. Yeah, it doesn't actually say. That would be a good this is the kind of thing where, because the implications of this quest this quest's consequences have implications toward the main plot of the game, because like the keepers are how Sovereign gets into the Citadel at this point, or is about to do it. Like it's part of this whole quest. It feels like you should be able to like unlock some like foreshadowing or something along those lines. Like something about this thing should like let you know the keepers are up to no good, even though you don't know what to do about it yet. And then it's weird to me that they're never really brought up again. Like there are some consequences to this quest later down the road where I think that if you do it right, it leads you to an additional like 10 war assets in Mass Effect 3. But like, it seems like a big deal that like these dudes are secretly working for the Reapers and they have been this whole time. And then the end of Mass Effect 1, and then it turns out that it doesn't matter. It's fine. We took care of it. It's no good. You know, like I don't know. Like it feels like there should be
the Keepers feels like a missed opportunity in a lot of cases. Like
yeah, like it feels like they were planning something with it, and I don't know. Like I don't know. Like it feels like
they play almost no role whatsoever in Mass Effect 2. I think
no. I mean, for Mass Effect 2 and 3, they're just hanging around doing their normal duties. I just feel like there's more, like the reveal that they were like designed by the Reapers as like a biomechanical machine in order to like do this one specific job to initiate their invasion. And then we just don't like I think we closed the back door. I can't remember exactly. It's been a little while, but like, and then we just don't bring it up. It feels like there should be more to that story. Like we should like,
it just seems like a liability.
I mean, like even if it was a story about like, oh, we fixed the problem by getting rid of the Keepers, and now all of these things that they used to do, we now have to figure out and build infrastructure and like take over it. And then, you know, they need Shepard's help to do that. Or like, even if it's just something that's happening in the background, it feels like the kind of thing that like should have ongoing consequences. But instead the writers took the lazy way out of like, oh, well, we fixed the thing. We stopped the signal. That's it. We're done. And we're just going to let these guys keep going. And it's like, I mean, like, just be better, guys. Can you just be a little bit better?
Yeah, I feel like they could have leaned even harder into it with like maybe the Keepers like directly sabotaging like life support systems or whatever. Just like kill off everyone on the Citadel. Like they're there to maintain the Citadel, but like as like basically a waypoint for Sovereign. Yeah. And beyond that, like they could have been used a lot more in a much more deadly manner, I guess.
Yeah. It feels like such a wasted like there just needs to be more to that story. Either have it be a big thing or don't have it be a big thing. You can't have it be a big thing and then just forget about it for the next 2 games. Anyway, that's just frustrating. Well, is there anything else you want to cover in the spoilery section before we move on to our character bracket?
Let's head on to the character bracket.
All right.
Character bracket.
Today, we are talking about, I closed my window, I know I don't remember what it was. We were talking about Dr. Karen Chakwas versus Captain Kirrahe. So, in this playthrough, we've already met Chakwas, who is the doctor aboard the SSV Normandy, and who will continue through all 3 games. She's one of the characters who shows up in every single one of them as a fairly major character. She's on the ship the whole way through, and she's a MILF, and we love her. And then Captain Kirrahe will show up in Mass Effect 1 in a few, I don't know, about 6 months time when we finally get our way to Virmire. He is he's the leader of a Salarian, I forget what they call themselves, but they're like a special forces team.
Yeah, special task group, something. I think the STG, I think is what they're called.
Yeah. And he gives a lovely little, inspirational speech to his men. And depending on whether or not you how you make your decisions on Virmire, he might die on Virmire with his men, or he might show back up again in Mass Effect 3. I don't think he's in Mass Effect 2 at all.
I don't believe so.
He's a good. Man, this is actually kind of a hard choice. We're getting like last time was a little bit easier than this, but like I like Chakwas a lot, and I also really like Kirrahe. I kind of don't want to see either of them go.
Yeah, I'm with you there, but.
Kirrahe with his hold the line, like he's got such a that character shows up so briefly, but like they put character into him, you know, like he's fun.
Yeah. At the same time, like Chakwas is just kind of like
you spend a lot of time with her.
Yeah, she becomes a fixture of the game, and she's sort of a comforting presence throughout all 3 games.
Yeah,
if you manage to keep her alive through all 3 of them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like when you're reintroduced to her in Mass Effect 2, and like you show up onto this new Normandy, and Chakwas is there, and you're like, yes, Chakwas. At least you're like a familiar face. Thank God. Yeah, and like she's got I really like her like self-assured, like I know what I'm doing fucking presence, you know, where she's like,
yeah.
She's a confident doctor. She knows what she's doing. She's never baffled. She like knows what her purpose in life is, which is to take care of soldiers. And if you talk to her, she even is like specifically soldiers. Like I have devoted my life to helping out, you know, in this way to these people who need me the most. And I really like that about her.
So I think my vote would be for Dr. Chakwas. Like as much as I love Kirrahe, I love his little speech.
Yeah.
He just doesn't have the depth and development.
Yeah, man, I hate to see him. My only regret, it's like, absolutely, I would be willing to give this to Chakwas, except I just hate seeing Kirrahe go. Like I don't feel like it should be, it shouldn't be easy is a real thing. Cause he's such a fun little guy. And like that, yeah, I mean like there just isn't enough of him. Like if he was a companion or something like that, or he showed up in 2 for his extended thing. You can even, because he can die, you can even have him in Mass Effect 3 where another dude takes over his role. And it's different, but not drastically different, you know, like it doesn't lock out any really bad endings or really good endings or anything like that. So just for his lack of impact, I guess we do have to give it to Chakwas. So that's a shame, but I guess we're taking it. All right, Chakwas takes it, goes to round 2.
Alrighty.
Well, goodbye, Kirrahe. All right. Well, that is it for us this week. Next week, we are going to be, which Zach and I are about to record in about 2 minutes. But next week, we are going to cover the main part of the quest that takes place on the Citadel itself. So this is all of the business with the council, and then meeting our new companions, Garrus, Rex, and Tali, and doing that first little round of recruiting, and how that all resolves. So basically, if you're keeping along with us, go ahead and play out through the rest of that little section, and then we're going to leave that one off basically right as you're about to head off into the world map and explore out into the world. So till then, take easy.
All right, till next time.
Thank you for listening to the N7 Project. If you would like to read the upcoming playthrough roadmap, there is a link in the show notes below. We can be found on Twitter as @N7Project, at our website, masseffectpodcast.com, or via our Discord, scottpaladin.com/Discord. If you'd like to support the podcast, honestly, the easiest way to be to write us a review on Apple Podcasts, Podchaser, or your podcatcher of choice. We read every one of those, and it gives us a real boost every time, and it helps people find the podcast. Or if you want to give monetary support, all funds to our Patreon, patreon.com/monsterpod, will also go to supporting this podcast. Mass Effect, its associated characters, sounds, plot points, whatever, are copyright by some giant faceless corporation. The N7 Project was produced and edited by me, Scott Paladin, and hosted by myself and my best friend, Zach Jaquays. Audio is copywritten 2022, Scott Paladin. This has been a Library of Cursed Knowledge production.